Want to get early access to all of our daily videos, please consider joining our Patreon. I'll put a link below. Here it is on the screen. Again, you get early access to all the daily videos, ad-free, early, before anyone else gets to see them. Have at it. And you can help support the channel. Welcome, betters. How we doing? I'm trying something new today with this live stream. I'm streaming to Twitter. I have no idea if it's working. I don't know, but it says it is. So anyway, and I don't typically do nighttime streams. I think I've only done one before. So really just wanted to hang out and go over something that I thought was interesting, because it requires a little more nuance than I would put in a regular video. So I thought a live stream, I get to talk more, and it's more raw, and we can just kind of get into it. But basically, let's bring this up. Let's get this going, vetters. So you saw the saw the title, you saw the thumbnail. And if you remember, there was this UFO task. Well, I shouldn't say UFO task force. It was an oversight committee task force, right? Led by Representative Luna, right, from Florida, and they were supposed to be uncovering, JFK, MLK, yeah, right, Martin Luther King, 9/11. UAP, Epstein files, right? All of these things. Well, it's not looking too good, y'all. Because let me see if I can explain this. Let's go. Let's do it this way. So John Greenwald puts out this post. I'm like, oh, what's this? Because today they were supposed to release the Epstein files or something, along those lines, quote. And again, this is not political. This is nothing about the Epstein files. Okay. This has to do with UAP, but this is a sample, right, of what I think we can expect about the uncovering of UAP from this new task force. So John Greenwald puts out this tweet. He says, is it me, or should the Epstein files have been released to everyone in one drop all at the same time? Apparently, some online influencers got binders of the files first and were just seen leaving the White House with them and posing with them. Huh? This isn't transparency, it's theater. So this is not a joke. Let me repeat. This is not parody. Quite literally, this gets tweeted out. So you have online influencers like myself. Okay, imagine if they gave me the Epstein files first. I mean, what are you doing? That, first of all, that'd be the stupidest thing you could ever do. That's not what it should be. Us, online influencers should not be getting this stuff before everyone, and at the White House in some like decorated binder, arts and crafts. You know what I mean? It's like it's almost like a classroom. Like they had them in a classroom. They gave everyone their binder. Okay, guys, go out and uncover the secrets. Go out and tell the truth. I mean, it's a joke. I mean, they're smiling with it. Someone made a joke like it's like they're celebrating their new timeshare. I mean, that's exactly what it looks like. It's like, I mean, it's like, hey, we just graduated from the dumbest trade school in America. They're like, it's a graduation ceremony. I don't know what's going on. All I know is this is ridiculous. And look, I get maybe some of those influencers want to take advantage of the opportunity. So, nothing really against them at the end of the day. They're kind of just jumping on an opportunity that was offered to them. It's more of who's in charge of this information going out, right? And I'm about to tell you why it's even more alarming. All right. So this is the first red flag right here. The information doesn't just go out to the public. First, it goes to online influencers in a nicely little packaged binder first, right? That's the Epstein files. Let's keep going. Then Anna Paulina Luna tweets this out. Again, this is not a joke. I nor the task force were given or reviewed the Epstein documents being released today. A New York Post story, let me repeat that again. A New York Post story just revealed that the documents will simply be Epstein's phone book. So there's many red flags here. One, her nor the task force were given or allowed to review the documents being released today. So these online influencers got access to the documents before Congress, right? And this special task force set up for it. Tell me that's not America 2025, right? That's like hilarious. It's hilarious in a like alarming way, right? It's like, what? So they get the documents first before the task force hasn't even seen them, right? On top of that, the way she finds out is a New York Post story. That's how they're informed. So they're more informed by online influencers and mainstream media about what's going on than their own government, right? Like the people they're working with behind the scenes. I mean, just talk about crazy, right? And then she finishes her tweet by saying, "This is not what we or the American people asked for, and a complete disappointment. Get us the information we asked for." Well, I appreciate the tweet, but do something about it. You know what I mean? There weren't any whispers going around that this was going to happen. You telling me you didn't even know that this was going to happen? You ain't got people out there aware of this stuff, right? Because what she doesn't point out is, I didn't know that this was going to happen this way. She's not saying that. She's saying she found out from the story that the documents will just be Epstein's phone book, but it sounds like she probably knew this was going to happen. I don't know. Or the task force. It's like, what does the task force do? What are people doing? You know what I mean? How did that not get around that this was going to happen? It's like, look, you can put out tweets and get likes and retweets and all that, right? But what does it really do? Right? It's like when you see someone tweet out, in support online for something, like they're fighting the fight. It's like, you're not doing anything. You just tweeted. And then they shame other people for not sticking up or fighting. It's like, what did you do? You tweeted to your 1,200 followers. That's the big movement. That's how much, that's the support you're giving. It's like, it's the same thing. It's like, nothing against Luna, but at some point there's going to have to be some accountability. If it's just, well, we're trying, this is not what we asked for. Okay, but you're the only one in a position to do something about it. What are we going to do about it? You know what I mean? What are we supposed to do? They need to do something about it. She needs to do something about it. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is exactly how it's going to go. Right? Ay. All right. So let's keep going here. So this story came out from Askapol. It says the top Democrat on HPSCI, Representative Himes, laughs off Anna Paulina's new secrets task force as a conspiracy subcommittee, but says HPSCI's investigated UAPs a lot, though never JFK. There's a shit ton on UAP. Okay, great. And that's from Askapol. Shout out to Askapol. Okay, great. Guess what? I got something to play for y'all. So this press conference was held a few weeks ago. When was it? February 11th. I streamed it on the channel. And I'm apparently a prophet, because a part of me saw this coming. And listen to what I say in this little clip from the live stream before the press conference is held, by the way. It's going to be, right, this task force, that's what the announcement is, a task force headed up by Luna to investigate, UFOs, JFK, MLK, what did they say? Just, interesting topics, and promote transparency, right, from the government to the American people about some of these things. Are they going to see it like, I can already see the news, as I'm saying this out loud, the news is just going to be like, conspiracy task force, right? That's what they're going to call this. The conspiracy task force has been put together. Because if they, yeah. Conspiracy task force. I called it. I knew that this wasn't going to be taken seriously. It's like I literally called it. That's literally what he said. Because I knew as soon as they started naming out the things they were going to be looking at, I thought, oh God, they're going to use that against them. They're just going to call it a conspiracy task force and laugh it off and be done with it. Right. And if it was that obvious to me, because I'm an idiot and I figured that out, I'm sure a lot of other people figured that out. I'm sure I'm not the only one that said that. But I said it because I knew that this would happen. And it's kind of one of those things that's almost worse than trying to do something about it. Because you have you have the illusion of trying to do something about it. So then you just forget it. Well, it's being taken care of. Nothing to worry about. We took care of that problem. So you turn and face other things. But actually, it's not being taken care of. And if nothing would have happened, you'd still be harping about it, right? So it's almost worse. It's like the illusion of action is worse than no action, right? We would probably be better off if there was no task force, or they use this as an opportunity and get fired up to actually do something, right? Because it can't just, please don't let it just be a hall of mirrors here, right? Which is what it sounds like we're doing. Because this is exactly, why would this be any different for the UAP files? Because they're going to investigate UAP, right? So how is this going to be any different? Are online UFO influencers going to get UFO files first? Are we going to get flown up to the White House? First of all, I'm going to say no, so don't worry. But that would be so stupid to give it to online UFO influencers like myself, files first, and then put us out, right? Like what? How is that transparency? Why do they get access to it first? To disseminate the information they want you to, right? So again, almost like Project Blue Book in a way, it could be worse, this task force. It could damage things even worse as we're trying to get closer to the truth of what some of these files are. But, at the same time, uncover UAP and files, like what are they going to release? How is a binder coming out of, about UFOs even going to help us? It's almost making me just see the whole thing. Like there is no like file, you know what I mean, on a shelf that says like the real truth about UFOs. And it's just nicely summarized, up to date, by the way, just up to date with everything in it. What are we going to get? They haven't, they probably destroyed all these files, because anything that's going to come out, if in any way, shape, or form, it makes someone in the government look bad or someone that's in the chain to make sure that information gets out, what do you think is going to happen? They're just going to try to cover it up, And listen, I'm so skeptical about all this stuff, but even I see this as like just ridiculous. I just don't know. This gives me zero hope for this task force and what they're going to do with uncovering UAP. What are the hearings going to look like? What's going to happen? I mean, it's kind of the first hearing's coming up, and it's about JFK. It just gives me no hope for UAP. That's just the bottom line. Seeing how they're treating the Epstein, the very first thing they're doing. I mean, did they not think optically giving it to those online influencers and sending them out with the information Did they not think that was gonna look bad? I mean, what were they thinking? Right? And then again, the task force Luna comes out. I didn't even know this was happening. I mean, what? So again, what hope do we have for the hearing coming up? You know, it's like it's almost like it's all for show. Hey guys, I'm fighting for this. But it's like all the time is spent in marketing, promotion, setting up the task force, setting up all the things, doing it, but not the actual work, you know? It's like you got a great restaurant, you decked it out, amazing art, chandeliers, cool little knickknacks, beautiful seating, luxury, right? And got all these beautiful ingredients, amazing stuff. No chef. Yeah, it's pointless. Right? It's almost pointless. So I don't know. Are things going to change? Are they going to get fired up by this and want to do something different? Or are they just going to be held up? And what are they doing if they're being held up? Right? Like, what actions are they taking to make sure they don't get held up? Because a lot of this is planned. And for Luna and the task force not to know that this was being planned like this with the online influencers is kind of interesting. Again, I'm not here to be partisan or political, especially not partisan politics, but Luna is conservative and on the right, and those are all right wing influencers. You know what I mean? Like they didn't know. I don't know about that. All right. And then on top of that, it's not even the bombshell documents you think they're walking out with, right? It's just all a joke. It's all smoke and mirrors. And honestly, the best thing they can do is make you think that they took care of the problem or are taking care of the problem, right? You just think it's done. It's okay. It's being solved. It's being worked on. We can rest easy now. Right. All right. Let's jump to some questions here while we hang out. Got some super chats coming in. Let's get some feedback from y'all watching, right? How do y'all feel about this? Do you think I have a point? Is there something I'm missing? Do you have a counterpoint? Do you agree? Let's go through it. All right, Chuck. Chuck says if Trump wasn't on an alien spaceship, then he would never get disclosure. But since he was on the island, that's why you're not getting anything here but blank sheets of paper. If Trump was on an alien spaceship, then we would never get disclosure. I don't know. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. So you're saying because you think Trump was involved with Epstein, that's why we're not getting anything relevant with Epstein, but he was never on a spaceship, so it probably won't affect disclosure. All right, that's fair enough. I'm not saying I agree with that, but that's a fair understanding. If someone's involved with the thing, then it's, like I said, they're more likely to trip it up. But the one thing they're not involved with, we'll see. So, okay. So then if he doesn't put out the stuff with UAP, then is it safe to assume he's in line with that too? He's part of the cover up? Because that's where that thread gets pulled to. But all right, fair point. Max Knightman says, I am already losing faith. There is no fire creating any of this smoke, no flame, no sense of urgency if the issues are indeed urgent. All of this has more in common with the smoke screen. Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels that way. And again, the illusion of action is worse than no action, in my opinion. Right? You can quote me on that. And I just feel like that's what's happening with this task force, right? Because we all had all the momentum with the David Grush hearing. And then it went to the second hearing, no good, right? Then now they're going to get this task force going. Now what? Look at it. Let's wait and see what happens with the hearings. Maybe it's hit or miss. Maybe some things are up, some things are down. Maybe, they just won't bat 1,000. I don't know. It almost makes sense that this task force would get roadblocks and would get pushback and would be left out of the process if quite literally their job is to uncover the secrets of the government they are employed by. You know what I mean? So, but if I'm Luna, I'm talking to who organized that um you know, information to go out to those influencers, right? Like who organized that? Because that had to be organized. Contact all the influencers. You got to fly them out to Washington. That means they knew a week ago or more, or at least a few days, right? You got to bring them out, get them in hotels, get them clearances. They got to come inside the White House. We got to give them these binder. You know what I mean? It's a whole thing. So clearly this was planned to show what? I mean, it doesn't make them look good at all. Like who, you know what I mean? Who's what? Who decided this? Who thought this will be a great idea? You know what I mean? Whoever thought of that idea is probably getting fired. But if they're not, maybe they're being praised. Maybe they're like, yeah, this is how we need to do it for the rest. You know, I don't know. Because it's like they're coordinating with the influencers. Does that mean they're going to coordinate with other UFO influencers for what's going to happen? All right, that's my concern, how this relates to UAP only. That's really all I'm concerned with. Android says, "What's up, Matt? Think about what it means if Luna's tweet is true." Yeah, that's what I've been talking about this whole time. It's not good. Atticus says, FYI, Luna on X said 30 minutes ago, phase 2 incoming soon, documents coming from FBI to Bondi. It's like, okay. But that's not what her task force is doing. Like, what is she doing? What are they doing? Why isn't the task force involved with this in any way, shape, or form? What's going to happen when it starts to get down to the UAP stuff? Because that's considered the most secretive, right? That's what they've said. The most secretive. If this is how they're handling what they deem secret right now, I mean, there's just no hope. You know, there's just no hope. Thank you, Atticus. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, Atticus, what do you think, man? Does that, I know you're putting FYI, right? Like to let me know, and I appreciate that. Like, so what do you think? Do you think that's like, okay, everything's going to be fine? Just taking a little bit longer. Again, that may be the case. Maybe I'm jumping the gun. Sean Ferguson says, all the great independent and honest journalists and all the so-called Congress people who are really looking into the issue are either paid or played. The Schellenberger Mace incident, for example. Yeah. And look, let me also say that this happens at the White House. Okay. These kind of things, it's not like this is the first time, but usually it's journalists, not online influencers, right? So they get journalists to, from like mainstream media. I'm not saying these online influencers aren't journalists. I'm just saying, you know what I mean? They come from mainstream and they get stuff before the public too, before it goes out. So this is kind of a typical thing that's done. What's different about it is supposedly this new air of transparency and that it's going to just online influencers, right? Which I guess you could argue people hate mainstream media, right? And don't really respect online influencers. It's like, we got nobody, right? So for me, I don't care. I don't even like when they do it for journalists. I've never liked that. They get all this stuff ahead of time so that stories all drop at the same time. It's just ridiculous. But there's nothing we can do about it. You know what I mean? I don't know what the play is, man. It's like if you're so deep in the swamp trying to like get something done, it's not possible. You just keep fighting. You know what I mean? It's just a fight. You just keep fighting. You fight long enough to get tired and become part of the thing you fought against. That's what happens. You go in, you know, with a fighting, fighting for change perspective, and you just get tired and beaten down till again you then become part of the thing you were fighting against the whole time. And yeah, I just it's I'm losing hope for the UAP stuff, but at the same time, I don't really put a lot of faith in it. Right? Again, I showed you guys in the live stream before. I called it. I called it weeks ago before they even had the press conference that they were going to be laughing at this, calling it a conspiracy task force. And that's what they're doing behind the scenes, right? And if you think Himes is the only one doing that, right? He's not, right? So for those of you joining that didn't hear, all the new viewers here, Askapol had put out an article, and Himes, okay, top Democrat representative, laughed off, right, this new task force, right? Just called it a conspiracy subcommittee, right? Which again, I said it in the live stream. I showed a clip of that. This is what they were going to do. They were going to mock it, right? But, he did say there's a lot on UAP. So that's probably the only silver lining out of this, right? Is that Himes is not now like, interested in UAP. There's a lot of information on UAP. But again, then we got to go back to, okay, there may be a lot of information about stuff, but that doesn't mean we're going to get it. Right? So what? It's like online influencers showing you their Ferrari on Instagram. Great. You think you're going to drive it? No. So that's all this is. It's the whole cover up is just, online influencers, the government showing off their Ferraris, UAP information that they have that you can't see, right? That's all that is. It's the same thing. So I don't know. I'm going to remain hopeful, though. Everyone's making some great points. And thank you, Sean. And great point. Let's go to Paul Oglesby Jr. Pardon me. Let me get a sip here. Hey, Patrick, part 2 of my Bledsoe Said So interview came out yesterday. 2 crafts came down and saved my dad's life. It would mean a lot if you watched. Yeah. Oh, I saw part of it. I did see part of it, man. It's a great show. If y'all don't know, Bledsoe Said So is the podcast from Chris Bledsoe's son, Ryan Bledsoe. And apparently, Paul is saying him and his dad went on that podcast and did an interview. So there's a part 1 and part 2. Go check it out, guys. I did watch part of it. Paul here says, we provide video evidence in part 1, and I have a lot more. We're big fans. Awesome, man. Well, I'm glad you brought some receipts with you to show up to that. Somebody sent it to me too, man. So you got fans out there of that interview, by the way, because someone sent it to me. Hell yeah. Well, like I said, guys, go check it out. Bledsoe Said So, the Oglesby family. Very cool. Thank you so much, Paul. Chameleon UK says, look at history. Governments will make you believe they're looking into things just to sell you more lies. Exactly. Again, the illusion of action is detrimental. It's detrimental. And that's where we're kind of headed. And you're exactly right, Chameleon. You're exactly right. It's like, yeah, don't worry about this. We're taking care of it. Don't worry about it. We got it. And so you're over here doing your thing. But meanwhile, they're not doing anything. Is that what's happening to us? Because a lot of people are not going to be happy. And Luna's going to lose a lot of fans if she can't start delivering on some of these big promises. Now, just to play fair for Luna, the process is hard and the fight is difficult. I get it. And things take time. We do have to be patient. So I'm aware of that as well. But the signs are not looking good. And what I called 3 weeks ago happened. Because you can kind of just see the writing on the wall. You want to be optimistic, but then experience in life shows you, you know what I mean? Typically, if XYZ is happening, this is probably what's going to happen. Hey, we can always be proven wrong. This would be the greatest thing could be proven wrong about. That this task force uncovers all the UAP secrets or kicks enough of a hornet's nest that disclosure starts to happen. I want nothing more than to be wrong, right? And for it to be, here it all comes out and blah, 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 like, great. I've never wanted to be more wrong in my life, but unfortunately, I'm not. It's not going to be good. Max Knightman, following all this information is like following tracking on Amazon. Sure, for real. It will all arrive tomorrow. Tracking delayed in transit, bro. That is so true. Right? Like, that's exactly it. That's it. That's it. It's like your DoorDash driver on an endless trip to your house with the food. You know, you ever seen it before where you're watching it, you can see it on the map, you know what I mean, on your phone, and you see the car and then it jumps back like 5 miles. You're like, what happened? Or it's just stuck at one street forever. You're just like, what's going on? Or then it just jumps across to something else. You're just like, oh man, my stuff is never getting here. Right. It does feel like that, Max. That's hilarious. Gem Girl. What's up, Gem Girl? She says, even if they release anything, they'll still keep us from whatever they want. Unfortunately, you don't know what you don't know. Well, great point, Gem Girl. Yeah, we wouldn't know what we were missing. It's a great point. We don't know what the prize is entirely. We don't know the details, so we wouldn't even know what we were missing. If we got something, we wouldn't know if it was all or not, right? That's a great point. And you're exactly right. I mean, it just seems like, again, there's two parts to the Epstein thing as a sample for what's going to happen with UAP, right? One, they put it out to the online influencers in a information campaign that's, again, is used in Washington and in DC in the executive branch to release information to journalists and that, but this time it was used for influencers, and they let them with the information out first. But the second part of that is the information they gave them was not the thing they thought they were getting. So it's just twofold. It's like, and then the task force doesn't know about it. It just keeps getting worse. Every element you look into it, right? It's just worse and worse. There's nothing good about it. Now, maybe they'll uncover something crazy in the phone book, but his phone book, like, what? We waited all this time just to get Jeffrey Epstein's phone book? The dude's like the biggest, I can't say the word. I'm not trying to get struck on stream, but y'all know that guy was horrible, right? And the worst in the world, just the worst. And that's what we get after all this time. It's a joke. So again, that's not looking good for UAP. I want to be optimistic, but I'm also real. You know what I mean? It's all good. It's like we're in a relationship we should have broken up a long time ago. You know what I mean? We're in a relationship we should have just got out a long time ago. You know what I mean? Atticus is back, says Bondi has D-class authorization. That's true. Well, we'll see. Listen, I mean, I'm glad people are bringing up positive points and trying to push the ball forward positively. I agree. And that needs to be part of the conversation. Okay. And it is true. Can't let our emotions get in the mix of this. I'm just kind of ranting on this live stream because, one, it's fun. And, I don't typically do these things. So, but you're right. look, there's some things could change, something could happen. It's just not looking likely. But I hear you. Courtney Seidel just sent in $5. Well, thank you, Courtney. Thank you so much. You rock. Sean Ferguson says, we need to focus our energy on community efforts and grassroots, not rely on official paradigms. This is why UPAT are essential to the issue. You know what, Sean? I agree. I am essential to this issue. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, thank you. But there are people, much better off than me to that are better for the issue. But I totally agree. There needs to be community efforts, grassroots. I totally agree, dude. Right? Like citizen disclosure, citizen journalism, looking into this to figure this out. At the end of the day, right? Because it's a global thing. And just because America doesn't release information or do whatever, that doesn't mean the rest of the world isn't doing something, or people just getting together in groups and doing it, right? Like, so I agree at the end of the day. And to be fair, disclosure and the truth can come from you in a way, right? Depending on what your standards of evidence are and how much time and effort you put into the topic, you might be able to find out the truth and disclosure yourself. Right? Waiting around for the government to give us the answers is just, it's not going to happen. It's more like the government, what we're trying to do with the government isn't that we'll get the answers, is that they can help enact laws to help us better understand the answers. Let's take an example here that just came to me. Slavery, civil rights, right? Humanity knew that was wrong well before it was ever made into a law, right? The reality was this is not good. And it took a long time for the government, right, to enact laws to help us better understand that answer. And that's a perfect example. Same thing with civil rights to the 60s. I mean, when my mom moved to this country from Mexico, they still had separated water fountains. When I was in elementary school, it was only like 10, 15, 10, less than 10 years before they had unsegregated schools in Texas, somewhere along those lines. I didn't even know that till I was older. You know what I mean? It's like it takes a long time for the government to catch up to what is obviously right to humanity and what we know to be the truth, right? So it's the same thing with UAP. That the truth isn't going to come from them. We'll have the truth out for a long time, and then eventually they'll catch up in some press conference and do something again to help enact laws to help us better understand the phenomena. But God, I'm just realizing that now. Like we're just that's not where the answers are going to come from at all. It might help us get there, but not really. I don't know. This is fun. This is fun to talk about this, and this is fun to kick this around and think about it. Great points, great questions from everybody. Thank you, everyone, for participating and throwing in your thoughts and making points. Yeah, it's a crazy thing where we're at with this. So again, just to reiterate for those new showing up that may not know, part of the Epstein files were released today through online influencers first. And basically just saying, and it wasn't even all the documents they thought, and I'm basically just saying that that's not good for the UAP files or whatever, right? That's going to be uncovered, whatever they're going to declassify. Luna doesn't know about it. The task force is getting made fun of. They're going to get pushback. It's not going to go well. So, all right. Let's go to some other questions or comments if anybody has. Otherwise, I'm just going to be repeating myself here. So I've pretty much made my point. All right, y'all. Well, listen, thank you everybody for tuning in and hanging out. And we'll just have to wait and see. Patience is a virtue. And how long do we need to be patient for? I don't know. Who decides that? I think everyone's going to decide for themselves. Right. So shout out to Greenwald for putting that out. And shout out to all the veterans who showed up for this night stream. I had fun doing this. I need to do this more often at night. This is I feel more loose. You know what I mean? We can kind of go off on some of these bigger topics that just require a little more nuance than just like a simple 10-minute video that I can make, about this, which is what I was going to do. So, and I like everyone's participation because I'm reading a lot of, very smart comments about this and understanding of it. And this affects us all, right? This isn't just about me. It's about everybody. And, I may not have crossed the finish line into belief that we are being visited by NHI, right? I may not have crossed that finish line like many of you have. But one thing I do want is transparency, right? And the truth about UAP. And if they have UAP stuff, they shouldn't be hiding it. And they should bring it out. And everything that happened today with the Epstein stuff is just not good. As a sign of what's to come with this task force dealing with UAP and just UAP in general, forget the task force. So anyway, thank you guys for hanging out. All right, y'all. We'll see you guys on the next one. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through eyes covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched